One thing I love about Sea of Thieves is the fact that you never know what to expect, especially when you play an open cruise. Both your crewmates as well as competing pirates are usually fairly unpredictable. Every time you walk out of that tavern to get to your ship and raise the anchor, it could be the beginning of a brand new adventure. From fending off grand creatures, uncovering legendary loot, and being taken hostage on my own ship, every session of Sea of Thieves creates a brand new chapter in my book of tales. I've been very fortunate to experience many different facets of this game in the last little while, but just like any good story, it only makes sense to start at the beginning. Welcome to the Sea of Tales. Let us rewind and take a look at one of my very first voyages. A few months ago, I was but a humble sailor taken under the wing of one of my friends going by the name of Birdie. As much as he was also new to the life of pirating, he had spent enough time on the seas to show off some of his hard-earned cosmetics. But before he set sail on what was a very impressive vessel in my eyes, I had to meet the third member of our crew. Mine now.
That's Remy.
My possessive nature immediately took over, and I had made the decision that, in true pirate fashion, Remy was mine for the taking. But little did I know of all the wondrous things that he was capable of. I compared to him. This is the best game ever.
Yeah, you push X. He'll like look away and click, put it down, put it down, put it down.
I don't want to.
No, trust me, put him down. Get your instrument out.
That was I. Oh my god, this is the best game ever! After having acquainted myself with the crew of our vessel, it was time to get some loot. We took up a quest for glittering gold, hoping that, with a name such as that, we would be rewarded with riches aplenty. Our journey to the island in question was fairly peaceful, giving me a chance to learn the ins and outs of what it means to be a sailor. It didn't take us long to find our destination, a remote island that didn't seem to house a lot of dangers. But as we began digging out the treasure that we came here for, the undead started rising from their shallow graves to defend what was rightfully theirs. A combat encounter that, quite frankly, would not prove to be much of a challenge at all. While most of the loot we found was fairly unimpressive, although that would change once I found one crucial item.
Should be one like, yeah, right here somewhere.
Ooh. Is that a mega bomb? I think that's a mega bomb.
What is that? What does mega bomb mean?
Mega bomb means you can one-shot a galleon.
Stronghold gunpowder barrel. Okay, this is mine now. Goodbye.
You can one-shot a galleon with that, dude. Birdie decided to load up that very dangerous piece of cargo while I continued to loot the island. There. Is this it? Oh, I found the other one. First try.
Oh, Reaper's bouncing.
I'm being kind of attacked.
Alright, I'm coming.
One of these dudes doesn't have a head. Oh, he has a head now. He's dead. Birds? This one is glowing. Of course, by now I am very aware of the inherent danger that comes with trying to sell a Reaper's bounty, but back then, we had absolutely no idea. As far as we were concerned, that piece of loot must have been what we came here for in the first place, considering we found it by following the map. Speaking of which, that same map would guide us to yet another unusual piece of loot that we didn't know what to do with. Take generous gift. Here.
No, I insist.
No, you have to have it.
No, it's a gift, Cliff. You need to take it.
Yeah, but I can't accept this.
But Cliff, this is not for me.
But how am I supposed, like, this is just too nice of
Remy?
you. He just left. Remy made a good point though. We were wasting time fooling around while, unbeknownst to us, every pirate on the seas could make out our exact location thanks to the Reaper's bounty. While we eventually caught on to the fact that this thing functions as a proxy GPS, we were scrambling to find out where to sell it. The location Reaper's hideout would certainly give away our obvious destination, however, Birdie and I somehow ended up on the wrong island.
Cliff? Yeah, those two galleons are camping.
Oh,
you ready for this? You ready for
God. Are you trying to tell me they're grouping against us?
I don't know, but they're definitely camping. They're probably like talking to each other right now. Hey, you see the guy with the Reaper's chest? Yeah, dude, I see him.
As it turns out, our sense for direction was even less reliable than we thought, because the two galleons that we assumed were waiting for us weren't waiting for us at all.
But yeah, if you go back to the map, we're in an unmarked location, and the Reaper's hideout is still to the west.
So you're just a degenerate, okay.
You're a degenerate too. You didn't correct the issue also.
Well, I trust you.
Uh.
First mistake. The only thing trying to intercept our delivery was a megalodon, yet another minor inconvenience that will be easy to deal with. When we arrived at Reaper's hideout, there was, in fact, no ambush whatsoever, meaning that we could finally get rid of the Reaper's mark that was inherent to that piece of loot. Oh, I lost!
Oh, Cliff, yeah, it's worth it.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
If we ever see a skull on the map, we're ganking those people.
But something about this didn't feel right. Treasure without hardship just doesn't provide the same level of satisfaction as when we would have actually had to fend off 2 galleons to get the cell. Birdie and I decided that in order to satisfy the universe, we must engage in combat and sink the ship that we previously spotted. If we were to just take that payout and not send some poor souls to Davy Jones, then certainly we would be struck by his wrath. As nighttime fell upon us, we decided to head out and engage that galleon. The opening move in this naval battle was for our Captain Birdie to try and directly ram the opposing galleon. While I successfully managed to attach a harpoon to their vessel, in some leap of logic, I decided that letting go of them was the right idea. A move that Birdie most assuredly put into question, but when we gave chase, it turned out that this was the right decision after all. The enemy ship had been targeted by a skeleton crew that we, thanks to the distance between us, would not have to worry about. Of course, we tried to turn up the heat and attempt to assist in the NPC's effort of sinking that galleon, but before we got to make our move, a kraken appeared. We successfully stopped our ship before entering the kraken's reach, and Birdie decided that now was the time for a power move.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm getting the bomb, I'm getting the rowboat, and I'm gonna put the bomb in their ship while they're fighting the kraken.
While Birdie was out there doing God's work under the most dangerous conditions I can imagine, the opposing crew had sent a boarder to try and take care of us. As much as I was confident enough to take up a single enemy player in gun and sword combat, what I couldn't deal with was the fact that they were literally invisible. The guy's invisible. He's like literally invisible. He's cheating.
Yeah. No, he's using the name thing.
No, he's like actually, it's just the name. He's walking towards me. And like, I don't see him. I can't shoot him, nothing. Needless to say that I was not happy about how my first PvP encounter ended, but as an Overwatch player, dying is definitely nothing new to me. I would respawn and return with a vengeance, finally being able to see the person that had been taking over our ship. While fighting somebody when they're not invisible definitely made the whole ordeal a fair bit easier, we had been leaking out of every corner in our ship as that guy tried to steer us towards the Kraken. Birdie had still not made it all the way towards the opposing galleon while I was trying to keep us afloat. Once we stabilized our situation, however, my eyes were wide open for a whole bunch of loot that was just floating in the water. I didn't know, neither did I care about where that came from, as I excitedly jumped into the water to save it from sinking. At this point in time, I had not been aware of harpooning the loot being an option, meaning that this process would take me quite some time. And while I was busy securing the goods, Birdie was having a bit of trouble.
Oh shit! Cliff! Cliff!
We cool?
My is actually being eaten.
Why?
Look up at the arm on the Kraken. Oh. Look up at the arm, Cliff. It's me.
That's unlucky. Thankfully, the Kraken decided that my captain was not tasty enough to swallow, allowing him to continue on with his mission. It did take a lot of time and effort, but eventually, Birdie succeeded in sneaking on the ship. Before the opposing crew even had a chance to react, he lit the gunpowder keg to seal their fate once and for all.
It's lit. They killed me, but it's lit.
That's a massive explosion, and more Kraken arms are going. Oh my god! They lost 2 sails! That stronghold gunpowder keg will be the final nail in the coffin that was already prepared by the skeleton ship and Kraken. I knew that we would be the next target once they're done with these poor souls, meaning that it was time to hightail out of there. As we marveled in awe about how unlucky a crew of pirates could get, Captain Birdie only had one last thing to say.
Cliff, look at me. I did this.
Feeling smug and satisfied about that encounter, Birdie and I sailed away, ready to get even richer on the back of these guys' misfortune. But as it turns out, we celebrated too soon as a random explosion hit our deck and almost took out the both of us. Since it impacted up top and we didn't see any obvious damage, we didn't think that anything below deck could have possibly been destroyed. But our luck turned around very swiftly as, adding to the ghost ship that just began firing away at us, the Kraken reappeared to pull our ship into the depth of the ocean, along with the galleon it just swallowed.
Well, this is how it ends, Cliff.
Repair quick!
I'm repairing everything I can.
Oh my god, please.
Oh,
I need help, I need help, loader!
The ship's gone, the ship's gone.
You're joking!
I'm repairing. It won't let me repair it.
Our ship was gone, and at that point there was only one thing left to do. We didn't realize that the sacrifice that was demanded for a Reaper's bounty was more than just one ship. Their galleon, our sloop, and all the loot we had been carrying would return to the sea, and at last, Davy Jones would be satisfied. And as such, that marks the end of one of my very first voyages. The end. What is it you desire when you set sail on the Sea of Thieves? I mean, I understand that all of us are here to make some money, so that eventually we'll be able to afford some of the sickest cosmetics available. But there's more than one way to achieve that, and a good one is by becoming an emissary. Becoming an emissary is definitely a commitment that comes with a few risks though, not the least of which is a target on your back that makes you an even more attractive vessel to sink. As such, you want to make sure that whatever faction you decide to join comes with the right benefits. While there's a whole bunch of factions that you can swear your allegiance to, realistically, there's only one correct choice here. I mean, the Order of Souls is alright, I guess. Gold hoarders can work out well if you want to make a quick buck, but who in their right mind wants to become a merchant? Honestly, just the idea insults me. Becoming a member of the Reaper's Bones, on the other hand, does not only allow you to get a fat bonus payout on anything you sell to them, you can also level up your emissary standing by sinking other ships. A faction that encourages me to take things away from other pirates rather than actually having to work for my gold? Sign me the heck up! And being able to locate other emissaries upon hitting 5th level certainly is a nice bonus. Now, you have to know that I take my job as an emissary very seriously. The moment you raise that flag, really it stops being all about you. At this point, you are a representative for your faction of choice, and that means that it's your responsibility to act accordingly. Knowing that, you probably won't be surprised to hear that when I see other Reaper emissaries engaging in the dishonorable act of avoiding combat, I begin seeing red. And surprisingly enough, that is a fairly common occurrence. Honestly, I've seen merchants fight harder for a few hundred gold worth of loot than Reapers that merely try to save their skin. Pirates like that are labeled the Runner's Bones, and it is my job to hunt them down and make sure that I can't bring shame to a glorious faction any longer. And that's exactly what today's story is about, so sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself another chapter of the Sea of Tales. Our voyage began with a simple goal: raise the Reaper emissary flag and bring honor to the Reaper's Bones. Of course, with this being our first time representing their organization, we, as much as anyone else, had to start at the bottom. Going out and collecting the Reaper's bounty would certainly be a great start to increase our reputation, so off we went to go and do exactly that. But we figured that there's no such thing as being too well prepared, so when we saw a bunch of cargo float on the ocean, we decided to stop by and stock up. Considering that most pirates we came across so far have been of the running variety, we didn't exactly feel worried, despite us being in a very exposed position. But as fate would have it, another sloop approached us while we were looting. I mean, hey, we are sailing under the Reaper's Bones, so any combat encounter is a welcome event to us. I'm just not entirely sure that these guys realized what they were up against. While the ships were circling each other, I decided to jump into the water and wait for an opportunity to board the opposing vessel. And my patience would be rewarded. I anchored them. What? Oh. These guys? They're literally not moving. Lit. Needless to say that with enemies such as that, sinking the ship on my own would be no trouble at all. While I have had a number of PvP encounters under my belt by the time I joined the Reapers, truthfully, I have had very little experience boarding, especially on my own. So as much as these guys have not been too much of a challenge for us, it created some much needed practice for me anyway. With a warm-up out of the way, we could finally arrive at the sunken vessel that was holding the Reaper's bounty. A quick dive into the depths of the ocean would allow me to locate a number of prestigious pieces of loot that we were certain the Reapers would love to get their hands on. But as we loaded the cargo onto our ship, we felt something strange. The world is changing, new dangers there be, between boundless sky and treacherous sea. On rolling waves with sails unfurled, ships come to plunder this new world. For anyone not aware, this is what it looks like when you get server merged. A swift glance at the map showed me that we were not the only Reapers on the sea, and we also aren't the only ones about to be in the possession of a Reaper's bounty. You see, the Reaper's Bones really don't care how you get your loot, as long as you sell it to them them. That means that rolling up with double the amount of bounties will grant us even more of a boost on reputation, even if it means that we have to sink another emissary to do it. Obviously, we were way too far away to beat them to the bounty, but knowing that there's only one place where you can sell it, our only choice was to try and race them to the hideout. Unfortunately, it just was not meant to be that simple, because the fellas that we sunk at the start of our voyage, yep, they were back and they were craving revenge. Of course, we had more pressing concerns than a vengeful sloop looking to get sunk again, but it would be an act of cowardice to not honor their wish for combat while sailing under the flag of the Reaper. I'll give you a hot second to guess how that PvP encounter concluded. A couple resource crates were all they had on board, but we'd be remiss to not make their possessions ours as a sign of respect for their efforts. Either way, we lost a lot of time on our race to the Reaper's hideout, so we had to hurry on up. Depending on the whims of the wind and the ocean, there might still be a chance for us to get there in time, though it was looking very unlikely at this point. I already began fantasizing about what epic encounter would await us at Reaper's hideout. This payday would be made even sweeter if we had to fight for it, and I was certain that the opposing Reaper crew would set up camp on the island to stop us if they expectedly managed to get there first. As we approached our destination, the sky darkened and the seas had gotten wilder. It was almost like the ocean was trying to set the stage for an encounter that would be remembered for years to come. But when I made my way onto the island to check for an ambush, there was nobody there. That's right, these cowards have been going for a drive-by play and sent one of their crewmates out to sell the chest while trying to create distance between our ships. I couldn't believe my eyes. Birdie told me that the map confirmed the selling of the Reaper's bounty and I spotted them sailing away from us. Playtime is over. Now it's not just about our reputation grind anymore, and heck, it definitely is not about the gold. We will not accept the presence of a runner's bones emissary in our waters, so it's time to deliver righteous justice. But naturally, this will be a lengthy process. About 10 minutes into our chase, I decided that maybe it was time for some psychological warfare. Greetings, fellow Reaper Emissary. Would you like to alliance with us? Please hold thy vessel so we can alliance. Hey, I'm not one to make fake alliance offers as a matter of principle, but if that guy raises a flag for the PvP emissary without the intention of ever PvPing, then I feel like I'm justified in combating fire with fire. But of course, no response. Our chase continued as the fake Reaper steered us close to an outpost, one which was housing a sloop that began firing at us. We had no choice but to answer in kind, and it's not like we had no means of locating the fake Reaper, so it's time for a skirmish. In the water. One guy's coming on the ship. Never mind, he's not on it. He's just in the water. He's dead. He's dead. One guy dead. With the first player out of the way, all I had to do was board their ship and take out the second one. Except there was no second player to be found. And there was also no loot. And on top of that, he scuttled. Wow. Okay, well, time to run back. Is everybody in this game a freaking coward? As frustrating as that encounter, or the lack thereof, was, what was even more annoying was the fact that the fake Reaper used the time we spent sinking that sloop to take a full turn back to Reaper's hideout. At that point, we had no idea what his intention was. Maybe he had some more loot he wanted to sell and that's why he was running? Well, whatever the case may be, justice was on its way. Though another attempt of negotiation was made.
Fellow Reaper Emissary, we wish to plunder together.
Tell them that we just fought like we were defending ourselves. They attacked first.
They attacked first, we promise.
But eventually, the chase would come to an end. He's on the stationaries. He's on fire. It was time to end this fight once and for all. Come on, buddy. You can't just run away this entire time. While I gave him a stern talking to about wasting our time and then abandoning combat the moment we fought back, what I hadn't realized was that he ran back to Reaper's hideout not to make his last stand, but to sell his emissary flag. On top of that, when I boarded his ship and set it on fire and eventually introduced it to the bottom of the ocean, he didn't seem to be willing to protect it.
Come on, could you stop shooting for once?
Need I remind him that he was the one that shot first? You wanna talk this out or what? Your ship is on fire, dude. He pondered for a moment before deciding to go for the ultimate act of cowardice. I killed him once and he's like, can you stop firing for once? I was like, okay. Well, that's the way to end this. He scuttled. A coward and a liar, trying to get me to drop my guard to parlay just to then take a shot at me anyway. A man that does not respect his ship, sails under the flag of the Reaper while only running away and then robbing us of the ability to reclaim the Emissary flag was a man that does not deserve my pity. But I did want to hear his reasoning.
Would you please stop and talk?
Yeah, sure, what's up?
Thank you.
While I was expecting him to explain the situation from his point of view, all that ended up happening was that he sat down and began pouting. He didn't tell us anything at all, and after all that time he stole from us by running away like a coward, I decided there was only one appropriate punishment. Execute him.
You have committed crimes against the Reaper organization.
We respect every opponent that decides to fight us head-on, but a coward like that deserves no such honor. At the end of the day, we did not manage to meaningfully increase our standing with the Reapers, and we also didn't make a lot of gold. But that chase ending up in the execution of a fake Reaper emissary, even if we didn't see any monetary gain, was built on a matter of principle. If I'm going to be a Reaper emissary, I'm going to be the best gosh dang emissary I can be. And with that goal in mind, I can't wait to sail the seas again next time. When it comes to making money on the Sea of Thieves, sometimes that means making compromises. Listen, you and I both know that a loot hole is that much more satisfying when you know that you didn't have to work for it. PvP is the spice of life, but of course I have to recognize that without PvE, there would be no loot for me to steal. So when Rare decided to open up the Vaults of the Ancients, I knew that I had to get my hands on them. The question was just, how do I want to go about that? Naturally, mine and my crew's first impulse was wanting to steal it from somebody else, but I feel like it makes more sense for me to skip a few chapters in my book of tales to allow you guys to find out what the Vault of the Ancients actually is. And surprisingly enough, despite us engaging in the despicable act of PvEing, we actually ended up having some very surprising PvP encounters. There's definitely something to be said about the thrill of defending a loot hole that you worked hard to get, so I guess all there's left to do is pull up a chair, make yourselves comfortable, and enjoy another chapter of the Sea of Tales. Since the Vault of the Ancients was a Gold Hoarder exclusive voyage, it only made sense to us to begin the day by raising the Gold Hoarder Emissary flag. Honestly, it's been a while since we bothered selling anything at all without having gone through the effort of raising an Emissary to rank 5. And when you already know that the Gold Hoarder is gonna buy anything off this voyage anyway, it really just makes sense. We've been a lucky bunch this morning, waking up to not only the presence of a rowboat, but also a whole bunch of storage crates that we could fill up with resources. It was almost like Rare was trying really hard to get us to become a loot pinata. Oh yeah, really important, don't forget to actually buy the voyage. You supposedly get more cash the higher your reputation is, so considering that Birdie was the most popular between the three of us, we had to have him buy it. But once it was done and wrapped up, it was time to set sail. Now, considering that we were outside our comfort zone in the realm of PvE content anyway, I figured that we might as well change up our roles too. Usually, I'm the one boarding other ships when we're sailing in European waters, with my duty switching to the first mate responsible for keeping us afloat when navigating North America. Today would mark our first voyage with me functioning as our captain. A scary thought indeed. But before we even began worrying about said voyage, Birdie said that he wanted to find out if there was perhaps an Ashen variety of the Vault of the Ancients. And while we were making our way to the Ashen Sea, we spotted a shipwreck that was primed to be looted. But as I set course for the sunken vessel, we found something interesting.
I was gonna cannon over.
Oh, what? That's the Athena!
What?
We sink them. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Oh, we win these.
Oh, they're grade 1, Cliff.
I don't care, we sink them. I don't care, we sink them.
They don't have anything.
I don't care, we sink them.
Okay, I'm just
Content.
saying.
You see, I'm not a big fan of Athena emissaries. You'll find out in future episodes why that is the case, but rest assured knowing that there is a good reason for why I wanted to see that ship at the bottom of the ocean. It didn't matter to me that they were rank 1 and as such likely had no loot for us to take. This was not the first outpost I visit just to sink a ship, and it definitely would not be the last. It was a very cathartic experience to lay into a sloop that decided to raise the Athena emissary flag, and as we expected, there was no retaliation whatsoever. Though we were quite certain that, with all this commotion we created, the owner must have heard us knocking on the front door. And wouldn't you know it, he did eventually show up.
I just got sniped.
Oh, you got sniped?
Yeah, I just got shot. I don't know
Where?
where they are.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah, on top of the island.
We're on fire.
I shot him, He's on top of the island. Look for the glint.
Okay. I see. I'm gonna go get him.
Now listen, I've engaged enough Athena emissaries to have a good idea for how they tick. These guys are a crafty bunch, and as such, you have to be a few steps ahead of them to beat them. I immediately realized that the guy was taking cover to drop into the ocean so that he could sneak onto our ship while we were searching the island. After all, Athena emissaries are the #1 tucking target, so it wasn't far-fetched to assume that they would know a thing or two about how to approach a tuck themselves. Too bad that I read him like a book and confidently won our fight in the water. Of course, we collected their emissary flag before continuing on our journey, even though we didn't have any plans of bringing it to a Reaper's hideout. Much like our hunting of the fake Reaper emissary on our last episode, this was built on a matter of principle. Anyway, fast forward a bunch, Birdie found out there was no Ashen Vault of the Ancients, so we decided to slap down the voyage that we bought previously. And as such, the real journey could finally begin. So the way that this voyage plays out is that you get a special compass that points you in the direction of different map pieces. Once all the map pieces are collected, you'll find your target location as well as the exact spot where the key to the vault is hidden. The vault itself can be on a number of different islands, and every one of them has a specific key to open them. Ultimately, the name of the key will reveal where you have to go, which means that the most time-consuming part is actually collecting the pieces of the map. As much as we assumed that nobody would bother us as we attempted to reveal our inner PvE warlords, it looked like the smell of blood was on us, attracting some welcome company.
Two things, Cliff.
Yes?
We're heading towards Kraken's Fall, and there's gonna be a Reaper emissary near us.
Oh, lit.
Oh, there's a Reaper on the server. Pog.
What rank?
1. Oh, he's a pleb. Don't worry about him. I'm just letting you know.
Birdie was right on more than one occasion. Yes, Kraken's Fall would be our first destination, and yes, the Reaper emissary was definitely trying to fight us. Since I was captaining the ship today, I made the executive decision to try and ram their vessel, just to show them that we meant serious business. Even while sailing under the flag of the Gold Hoarders, we are still Reapers at heart, which means that we wouldn't back down from a fight. Though that first engagement merely had us exchange a few firebombs with no serious damage to speak of. As I was setting course to chase down that sloop, I began remembering several encounters that had us lose miserably in naval combat. I remembered that sailing directly behind somebody is a bad idea because you're just inviting them to get an easy board. Of course, I was trying to play this as smartly as I could, seeing as how I would be the one to blame should we sink. But it didn't take long for me to realize that all they tried to do was bait us into chasing them so they would get the exact advantage that I tried to not grant them. We anchored turned towards Kraken's Fall, assuming that if they wanted to fight us, they would surely come back to keep chasing. After all, it only takes one member of our crew to actually look for the map pieces, meaning we wouldn't have to leave our boat unattended. A skeleton ship rose from the depth of the ocean to try and make our life considerably more difficult, but some simple maneuvers made them disappear as quickly as they showed up. After wasting so much time achieving absolutely nothing, Brandon shot himself into the ocean for the off chance that he could board the sloop, while Birdie made his way onto the island to look for the map piece we needed to complete our voyage. I was now left alone, with my only job being to keep an eye out for enemy ships. It didn't take Birdie long to find the first piece, and just as he did, Rare allowed us to witness something beautiful. Wait, these guys got Kraken, there's no way you're joking.
That's hilarious.
Granted, they successfully defeated the Kraken in no time at all, which probably means that they're more competent PvEers than us, but that didn't mean that their skill would be proportional in PvP. By then, I already had a good idea of their style of fighting, meaning that rather than endlessly sailing in circles, we fired Brandon back into Kraken's Fall, where apparently a second piece of the map was hidden. I was trying to turn the tables and get these guys to chase us so that Birdie could easily board them, but the poor sloop was having a hard time keeping up against our swift brigantine sailing into the wind. During this maneuver, we spotted a stationary ship at Crook's Hollow, and considering the distance between us and the Reaper, we figured we'd have enough time for a quick skirmish before they arrived. Brandon had uncovered the next map piece while we were sailing towards that ship, and when he realized that we were about to engage in combat, he excitedly ran towards the nearest mermaid. Now, what followed was much less of a fight, and much more the systematic destruction of a very ill-prepared solo pirate. Listen, when we set sail, we're out to play Sea of Thieves and not Sea of Friends. Though I would lie if I said that I didn't feel the slightest bit guilty about sinking a solo sloop that didn't have more than 2 chests on board. I would be the one to deliver the final blow and proverbial nail in the coffin before Birdie and Brandon took what little loot he had acquired. Now all that was left was returning to the Reaper so that we can give them the same treatment. We weren't at all surprised to find out that the Reaper emissary had enough tenacity to continue on their chase. But rather than ramming into them again, I wanted to make sure that they are neatly lined up behind us as we are leisurely continuing on our journey. And to our surprise, they actually activated my trap card. That anchor turn would be the last mistake they made, as Brandon and Birdie jumped into the water to seize the opportunity and board them. It was now my job to keep sailing in a predictable trajectory to bait them into following right behind me so that they actually sail into my crewmates hiding in the water. Unfortunately, Brandon was pushed down by the ship, meaning that Birdie was now left on his own. Unbeknownst to us, the enemies decided that carrying more than one explosive barrel was a good idea, and as one of them was trying to deposit them in the crow's nest...
I just shot a tank off that guy.
Neither of them survived the explosion, with Brandon having a prime view of their sinking ship. They wouldn't be able to return in time to be able to save themselves, meaning that this fight was over. Without a pesky sloop constantly trying to harass us, finding the other pieces of the map was a piece of cake. We were definitely unlucky in the sense that we had to collect every single fragment to be able to find the X that marks the location of the key. But ultimately, our destination was revealed to be Shipwreck Bay. Our voyage was finally nearing completion, and I have to say, this was more fun than I expected it to be. Attracting PvP by doing PvE may be something that I'll try again in the future, though I will lie if I said that I had perfected the art of tucking at this point. There were still many things I had to learn, and for any of the lessons I've learned so far already, I was yet to master any of them. But the first few months on the Sea of Thieves have definitely been adventurous, if nothing else. And I say all of that before we even got to the vault itself. We arrived at Shipwreck Bay ready to pick up the key that is supposed to lead us to Grand Riches. And just like anything else I've been doing on this voyage so far, it wasn't exactly difficult to get. But when Brandon delivered the key to our ship, I began getting excited. So this is it, huh? Dude, Comet is so excited about this. Comet is so excited about this. Where's like and subscribe? I wanna
Oh, you know what? I just realized that I changed his name from like, and let me change it back.
Subscribe doesn't seem to care. Subscribe's just like vibing. With the key in hand and our final destination revealed, we made our way to Mermaid's hideout to finally open the vault. The seas were calm and no other ships were anywhere near us, allowing us to safely sail through the waters. Naturally, the most sensible thing to do would be parking the ship at the back of the island, facing towards the Red Sea. But to be entirely honest, we are very convenience orientated around here, so putting it as close to the vault entrance as possible seemed like a good idea to us. And with the vault in front of us, it was finally time to cash in. Alright, moment of truth.
Well,
let's go. Start jumping around, Birdie. Yeah, we get the chests out, that's first priority. I'll drop all the stuff down, you bring the other room, okay? And if we have time to spare, we can get the gold. Okay, I found one of your medallions here.
The door might be closing. The door's closing slowly.
Okay, get all the chests that you can.
Do I have to hold on?
What happens if we get stuck in here?
Who's wrong?
Bro, I can't get this medallion down.
Where is it?
It's right here. Wait, where did it go? It's right here. Up top. See it?
Yeah, I see it. Can I get there?
I tried that and I can't get it.
Oh, I had a problem. Crap.
Is there a way to stop the door from closing? Like if you do all
No,
this?
that's not. Even when we succeed, the door keeps closing, so... Dude, I hate this. This is so annoying.
Door's almost done.
Dude, this stupid thing up that keeps pushing me off to the side when I'm jumping.
Ah!
Infuriating.
Hey, what if we're going about this the wrong way? Yeah, there you go, Cliff.
Door stopped.
I can't get this. Oh, it's about to close, it's about to close. Bro, this is... Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, this fills up fast.
Yep.
Hey, Cliff.
Oh no.
Hey, Cliff.
Yes?
I got the medallion.
Oh no, dude. There is a reason I stay away from platforming games as a matter of principle. Birdie did not manage to leave the vault in time, meaning he would be facing the watery rage of the gold hoarders that originally wanted us to return the key to them. Which makes it kind of weird that they'll just buy the goods off us anyway. Regardless of that, as we were in the process of loading the goods onto our ship, I spotted a galleon that was anchored at a nearby outpost. So far, all of our PvP encounters have been of very one-sided nature, with us having the man advantage when combating sloops. But it seemed like Rare fully intended to have us fight for the final payout by sending a galleon crew to take us out. We had to hurry up and make our move, but couldn't accept the fact that this whole ordeal left us just shy of the 5th grade on our Emissary flag. We remembered sailing past a mermaid gem when we originally got here, meaning we ran off to find it and get our last level. With all three of us pounding into the statue, breaking it will be no trouble at all, and at last, we will be rewarded with a max level Emissary flag. The only thing standing between us and our glorious payday was that galleon, and we were confident that as long as we got the jump on them, we'd be be able to sink that ship with little retaliation. My heart was pumping as we got closer and closer. I tried to make sure we could get some shots in before approaching their broadside, not knowing if any of their crewmates were currently on the vessel. And just as we intended to commence the battle, it's done.
Did they just...
What? You're joking.
Bro!
That didn't actually just happen. We weren't hyping this up for them to just scuttle right now.
We have Reaper cannons, Cliff.
Of course they do. Of course they do! Honestly, I've never been more disappointed in my life. You all know how I feel about the means and ways by which I acquire my loot, so to end up in a situation where we emptied the Vault of the Ancients, for the most part anyway, without anyone making a bona fide effort to stop us was very disappointing. Failing to grab the most valuable chest in the Vault meant that, at our current reputation level, our final profits would come down to about 70,000 gold pieces. Not the worst haul I ever had, but the fact that we actually had to do PvE in order to get it meant that I wasn't enjoying it as much as I usually would. I mean, the voyage is great, and we actually end up doing it a second time to succeed in grabbing the chest of ancient tribute, which, all things told, gave us another 80,000 gold on top for that evening. But I feel like you won't be spotting me doing that voyage again anytime soon. I still have a lot to learn when it comes to PvPing, and you know, the only way to get better at something is by actually doing it. With that in mind, we're probably gonna return to the Reapers next time. What do you believe is the greatest treasure one can obtain on the Sea of Thieves? The gold hidden within the vaults of the ancients, the loot that's being defended by the notorious Flameheart, or maybe the friends we made along the way? Well, many thieves agree that the hallmark of a pirate is the acquisition of the Chest of Legends. Otherwise known as an Athena chest, the Chest of Legends is among the most valuable pieces of loot you can find on the sea, for you can only obtain one once you have become a pirate legend. Actually, that's not entirely true. The Fort of the Damned also houses a Chest of Legends within its vault, and of course, if you never intend to actually do the voyage, you can also try to steal one from Athena emissaries. No pirate legend required. While my crew and I were on the seas fighting our petty squabbles and turning other pirates' possessions into our coin, we heard tale of that so-called Chest of Legends, and how every Reaper that thinks highly of themselves has also successfully stolen one such chest. Needless to say that stealing something so prestigious is not going to be an easy task for a bunch of greenhorns like us, and while we had been aware of the fact that we should set our sights for more manageable goals first, we were determined to make a name for ourselves by stealing that fabled chest. And as you can imagine, there is more than one way to go about that. In today's tale, I want to show you two different methods of acquiring an Athena chest that does not include PvEing, but does feature a dysfunctional crew of pirates that can't tell a Chest of Legends from a chest of 1,000 grogs. In one of them, I'm going to show you how to find a ship that is guaranteed to have an Athena chest to then face them in open combat, while the other one is going to feature the sneaky tucking approach, hiding on a ship that is currently sailing under the flag of Athena's fortune. So with the introduction out of the way, get your tucking clothes on, prepare your inventory for combat, and enjoy yourself another chapter of the Sea of Tales. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you guys. Tucking is really, and I mean really, boring. A wise man once said that on a scale from 1 to 10, tucking scores about a have somebody else do it for you out of 10. And that's a philosophy that, by now, I truly live by. But of course, for me to get to that point, many tucking attempts had to be made. And the problem with Athena emissaries in particular is that these guys are about the most paranoid pirates I have ever seen. You could be swimming to them from 2 islands over thinking there's no way they will bother checking for tuckers when they don't at least hear a cannon shot of some description, just to find yourself shot by an Eye of Reach because part of an Athena emissary's routine is jumping into the water in intervals of 5 minutes to make sure nobody can steal any of the loot that they are yet to obtain. I mean, I get it, if there's a group of pirates that is the most likely to be tucked on, it's Athena's, but they're doing a voyage that already takes ages to complete and make it take that much longer because they're so afraid of somebody trying to attack them, and that makes fighting them extremely obnoxious. But finding them isn't actually all that difficult. Once you arrive at your local tavern, you can simply check the board to see if any wooden ships representing Athena emissaries are present, and if there are, chances are you're not in a hurry at all. Again, these voyages take ages to complete, and sinking them is really only worth it once they achieve rank 5 in their emissary standing, which means that you might as well kill some time by doing something like the Flameheart event. So while we are taking our sweet time on the tucking approach, what about we take a look at how we can acquire the Chest of Legends in open combat? As I've already mentioned, Athena emissaries aren't the only ones who can legally acquire a Chest of Legends. Since you can find one such treasure within the Fort of the Damned, the easiest way to guarantee getting your hands on it is looking out for people trying to raid said fort. If you look into the sky and you see a massive skull with red eyes, that means the fort is currently active. If you're not on an island where that is easily visible, you can look out for the Reaper's mark on the map located at 14L, since the vault also houses the Reaper's bounty, and that will be visible as soon as somebody engages with that event. In our case, we had been particularly lucky that the one taking on the fort has been a Reaper Emissary, meaning that even if they are very quick when it comes to loading the treasure on the ship, not only can we accurately track them on the map, we also know the destination they're going to head towards to sell the goods. Daggertooth is not the worst outpost for you to hang out until the fort is cleared, because it is far away enough as to where it can't be seen from the fort, but close enough that you can get there reasonably quickly once they are done with it, and that without any chance of spooking them. And the fact that there's a lot of resource barrels on the island also means that you can kill some time by loading up your ship to be best prepared for the battle that is to come. Usually, pirates deciding to take on the Fort of the Damned are well stocked up on resources to do it as quickly as possible, and the island that houses the fort is also quite loaded on barrels. So, you know, make sure you have what you need to actually win that battle. Raising an emissary flag is not a bad idea either, just to get a bit of a bonus payout. Usually we're going for the Reaper's bones, but we didn't want them to see us coming. Though Birdie pointed out something very relevant in regards to us fighting another Reaper emissary.
Oh, they can see us coming, by the way. Cliff.
Let's lower the emissary flag again. Yeah, a Reaper 5 doing the fort is a blessing because you can track them, but since they can also spot every emissary on the seas, that also means that you don't get to raise one yourself, if you want to get the jump on them anyway. Once your ship is loaded, all you have to wait for is the disappearance of the giant skull in the sky, indicating that they've completed the event. And that, for you, means go time. Once your target has completed the event, you are starting to go up against the clock. Since we didn't want them to get suspicious, we didn't sail by to check how big of a ship they are sailing on. You just have to assume that they are on a galleon, meaning that they can load up the treasure very quickly with the power of a 4-man crew. Which makes it ever the more annoying when one of your own crewmates decided to go AFK. It's also very beneficial to make sure everybody knows their roles, particularly when you sail on a galleon yourself. In our setup, we have 2 dedicated boarders, a helmsman, and a first mate responsible for repairs and cannons. At this point, a bit of a pep talk to prepare your crew for the upcoming battle is also a good idea. I need everyone to please bring their A game. You know, no like eating, no, you know, don't gamer sit, actually like pro gamer sit, you know, straight back.
Like lean forward.
Yes. Face close to the monitor.
Bro, I'm in a rocking chair. I can't do that.
I'm sitting in bed, I can't do that.
So with 2 of us being laptop Andys, one of which is sitting in a rocking chair and the other one leisurely laying in bed, that left Josh and me as the only candidates to be boarders of our crew. As we approached our target location, we saw that we weren't the only ones trying to profit off of somebody else's effort. FOTDs have a tendency to attract a lot of scallywags that are too lazy to actually work for the gold, much like ourselves. In total, there were 2 brigantines, 1 sloop, and our galleon trying to fight for the loot, meaning the only way to come out victorious in this encounter was by taking them on one at a time. Since it seemed like all the ships were trying to feel out the situation, I decided to cannon over to the fort to check if they were actually done grabbing all the loot. And once on the island, I found out that for some reason they decided to leave the Reaper's bounty here, which is odd considering that their emissary flag is going to reveal that location anyway. However, they also left all the kegs in here, giving me all sorts of ideas for how we could end this battle very swiftly. While I decided to take a swim in the name of my newly found business of Uber keg delivery, Brandon fired himself off our ship because, quote, I saw an opportunity. Listen, the galleon is the fastest sinking ship on the seas with only 1 hole on the bottom deck, meaning that your first mate deciding to see an opportunity can end up with you on the bottom of the ocean in no time at all. Needless to say that our captain gave him a stern talking to about how he doesn't see opportunities, he sees holes in our ship that need to be fixed. I'm gonna save you some time here and spoil the end of my swimming adventure, which was me repeatedly getting attacked by sharks until I found myself on the ferry of the damned. And since I didn't trust Brandon to be able to actually do his job, I made sure to fix any holes that he figured he was too cool to take care of upon my return to our vessel. But that intermission would not last very long, as one of the brigantines sailing under the flag of the Order of Souls decided to approach us very aggressively. I have to admit that inventory management, among many other things, was not my strong suit at that point, meaning while I was fiddling to find the right projectile, I missed my chance to board their vessel. Though it didn't help that my anchor ball faced right through their ship. I guess that's one of the perks you get when working for the Order of Souls. But to ensure that we can get rid of them for good, I had to fire myself over and stop any attempt they could make to repair their ship. Once that emissary is gone, all we had to worry about was the Reaper, who was in the possession of the loot that we desire. Though as I was about to board their vessel, it seemed like my crew was having a bit of trouble.
I'm
What
not
the
in the
heck?
cannon.
Guys, our ship sinking.
Oh, what? How?
Oh my gosh, Brandon, that's your job.
We literally took 0 damage.
Yeah, that 0 damage we took off of these guys ramming us would probably do the trick. The only saving grace was that the Order of Souls had also sunk at that point, with only one of their crewmates returning from the ferry off the dam to try and take me out. It was a bit of an awkward squabble in the water, and looking back at this fight, I can definitely see that I've come a bit of a ways in combat ever since that encounter. But hey, sunk is sunk at the end of the day, right? Though we still had that Reaper Emissary to contend with, and Lord knows how we're supposed to achieve that without a vessel of our own.
Did everybody just sink? Everybody sunk.
How?
Everybody just sunk.
My best guess at that point was that the reason the Order of Souls ended up sinking was because they boarded the Reaper Emissary to make sure that they would also go down, leaving their ship with nobody to repair while our galleon found itself at the bottom of the ocean due to our own incompetence. Birdie had to fend off one last pirate trying to tuck on us while I was in awe about all the loot that now rose to the surface. It was definitely a lucky day, because these ships have been carrying supply and ammo crates that we could use to defend ourselves, since our crew was the only one still alive, even if we're lacking a ship to actually get the loot out of here. Speaking of ships, how is our tucking method going? We're still doing Flameheart. Alright, we'll come back to that one in a bit. Through the blessing of whatever nautic deity would hear us, we found ourselves with a rowboat and a one-way ticket to Cashville. Sure, the poor thing has seen better days before, but anything beats actually trying to swim to the next island. While we tried our best to load up as much of the loot as possible, with the obvious exception of the Reaper's bounty, Brandon had gone and took a mermaid to rectify his mistake and bring back a new ship so that we can secure our goods. What followed was a long and painful exercise in anxiety-filled patience as we rowed our way to Reaper's hideout, obviously assuming that all the ships that sunk at the fort would try to come back and rob us. This heist in particular was definitely featuring more dumb luck than skill of any description. But hey, we got a chest of legends on a rowboat, and isn't that what really matters at the end of the day? Brandon eventually caught up for a pickup, allowing all of us to let out a sigh of relief, though our entire crew at that point was questioning his competence a bit.
You know what else we should check? Whether we're sinking right now, because I don't trust it.
Yeah, let's check that. Okay.
I was just down there. I literally am so good at captaining this big ship.
The last time you said we have no holes, Cliff was fixing a hole.
What are you talking about?
While we were debating whether or not an entire galleon crew could have managed to tuck on our ship while Brandon was not looking, Birdie came up with the big brain idea of not bringing any of the loot onto our ship so that we can raise the Reaper Emissary flag and at least get a tiny bonus payout for the level we are bound to get for all that stuff. And as our captain commands, we went to raise the Reaper Emissary flag, loaded every single piece of loot onto our ship, and finally, at last, went to collect our coin for the spoils we acquired. Surely with all that time spent, our tucking attempt must have also gone somewhere, right? It seems we have completed the Flameheart event and Birdie was currently tucked on the ship of the Athena Emissary. I guess all we can do right now is wait for them to be done with the voyage, though I spotted something rather odd. There's somebody on the rowboat to our left. Brandon, do you want to go after them? They're going to the fort.
Yeah.
It didn't take Brandon long to eliminate whoever was on that rowboat and tell us what the heck they were trying to get to the fort.
They had a chest of legends here. I'm bringing it back.
What? We anchor this right now! Remember when I said that tucking for Athena's was have somebody else do it out of 10? Yeah, I wasn't lying. While our crew was out there shutting Flameheart up, there was another guy tucking on them this entire time. He must have somehow gotten away on a rowboat with all the Athena exclusive pieces of loot that are inherent to that emissary voyage. And now, they were all ours. We went full escort mode on the Athena cell at the nearest outpost, and as I was doing my ordinary RP walk towards the mysterious stranger, I saw that the Athena emissary had either given up or ended up sinking. Either way, we successfully obtained the chest of legends as well as a whole bunch of loot that we merely went out of our way to get to kill some time. I hope today's tale allows you to learn from our mistakes while also giving you a good idea of how to approach the stealing of an Athena chest. And I promise that one of these days I'll give you a bona fide attempt at tucking. At the time of telling you the story, I'm actually yet to do it successfully, so hopefully I'll be able to show you how to actually tuck in the near future. Life as a Reaper Emissary isn't always all that easy. Of course, in the tales we tell at a tavern we speak of glorious combat and the satisfaction of taking away other pirates' hard work. But more often than not, we end up sailing the seas for hours upon hours without coming across any worthwhile prey. I mean, I'm not complaining about it because frankly, that's a life that me and my crew ended up choosing. But I also know that a lot of you guys out there might be in the process of choosing a career path of your own. Selling goods without the benefit of an emissary flag feels like such a waste of time in this day and age. And considering the fact that the Reapers give you a fat bonus on every single item you bring to them, no matter what kind of item it is, that makes it quite tempting to join them. Now of course, if you are looking for pure profit, it makes a lot of sense to complete PvE events in favor of whatever emissary you chose. But that's just not as satisfying as acquiring your loot in visceral combat, even when most of the ships we sink end up having barely any cargo. So today, I want to bring you on board of our vessel so that you can see what an average day for a crew of Reapers really looks like. You're not only gonna see the sinking of many ships, but also witness us engaging in negotiation with other crews and ultimately find out how much or how little money we ended up making. Despite popular belief, being a pirate, and especially a Reaper, isn't always about shooting on sight. So without further ado, let's get into the next chapter of the Sea of Tales. When starting off your day as a Reaper Emissary, you have to ensure that it's even worth getting out of bed. There are two things you can look out for to guarantee that this is the case. The first one being a quick check on all the emissary tables. The most valuable emissaries to us at present are gold hoarders, simply because the newly discovered vaults of the ancients are being looted left, right and center, making it more likely that these fellas have something of value on their ships. So if there's more than one of them on the seas, we usually consider that something worth thinking about. Another thing we like to do is check the map for specific events, such as the Fort of the Damned or somebody stacking Reaper's bounties. I consider it particularly lucky when another crew leaves their storage crates at an outpost, because these things are very useful for pirates of all kinds, but almost necessary when sailing on a massive galleon. At this point, the biggest challenge is waking up my crewmates. Most of them have a tendency of sleeping in, meaning that while they brew their morning coffee, I spent my time loading up the ship with resources. It took them especially long to get up today, meaning that by the time our crew was assembled, the Reaper bounties were already gone. After going through our plans for the day and assigning roles to everybody, all that was left to do was set sail and look for some fat ships that store a lot of loot. And our first target will be a lonely sloop currently parked at Devil's Ridge. Now I know that most of you are going to assume that we shot on sight in light of the fact that we are sailing under the flag of the Reaper, but there are actually a lot of very good reasons not to do that.
Yeah, hold on. If they're doing Vault of the Ancients, I'm gonna check their voyages. Oh, storage crate.
They're stinking.
They have like 4 holes. Oh
They
god.
scuttled. They scuttled.
No, I don't think they scuttled. They're just
Repair for them. There is really no point in sinking a lonely sloop that doesn't fly an emissary flag, especially when they just began their voyage. Of course we were gonna take their storage crate, but it just makes more sense to let them fatten up a bit, so to speak, so that sinking them is actually worth it. You guys were about to sink, we just decided to, make sure that doesn't happen. Hey, that's rude, man. I was talking to you, just trying to shoot me. At least try to hit me, okay? Dude, come on. Naturally, you can't expect other pirates to react favorably to a galleon crew boarding their ship, especially when all of them are wearing Reaper PJs. Of course, we would return the rude gesture in kind to really make sure the guy knows how we felt about that. I mean, I'm not lying when I said that we weren't intending to sink him, but he definitely was sinking before we arrived, meaning all we did was undoing the favor of repairing the ship. After that little warm-up tussle, business began as usual. You can't always peacefully board a ship to engage in negotiation with them, because frankly speaking, if you're the kind of pirate that decides to ask questions first and shoot later, chances are you won't be a pirate for long. It is also worth mentioning that the galleon is not exactly the most nimble vessel on the seas, and it's also really slow unless you can sail into the wind, meaning the #1 challenge is making sure that your prey cannot run away. Hunting down other Reaper emissaries really is just par for the course, because you have to assume that they're going to be hunting ships down in the same way you are. We usually stay away from attempting to negotiate with them, because chances are that they'll shoot on sight anyway, and we much rather keep all the loot for ourselves. But that does not mean that we don't respect our fellow Reapers for engaging in honorable combat. Though with that said, we did try to give them the proper Reaper send-off.
Alright, ready?
Ready?
back. It's alright.
Unlucky. The seas were absolutely loaded that day. Every time we turned around, we saw another sloop that was ready to be sunk. And while most of them really didn't give us a run for our money, more like trying to run away with their money, we did go through the effort of sinking each and every one of them. One crew even desperately tried to sell the loot after we sunk them while we were fighting another ship. Thankfully, having the man advantage makes a big difference, allowing us to collect their loot as well as the rank 1 Reaper Emissary flag from the other guys we were fighting. So far, everyone we fought accepted their defeat with dignity, but we were about to meet one faithful crew that just didn't want to follow their example. Considering the lack of challenge presented to us so far, none of us really thought that this lonely Order of Souls vessel would be any different. Our designated boarders immediately got on their ship while I was covering them with cannon shots, but when they both fell into the ocean without dropping their anchor, I had to take matters into my own hands.
I killed one and the other one's fighting me in the water.
I'm pushing their ship in the rock, but then we're gonna need some repairs as well.
Anchored again?
Go ahead, Bird.
I'm dead? What? I'm dead. They caught anchor, they caught anchor.
How are you dead, Cliff?
I don't know, he shot me. If you ever needed a reason to double tap your targets, this would be it. Both of our boarders for some reason thought that the guy I was fighting was dead, when clearly he didn't even take enough damage to die to a blunderbomb blunderbuss combo. I'm just gonna say how it is, fighting a galleon's worth of competent pirates as a sloop is very much an uphill battle. And while calling us competent might be a bit of a stretch, when it comes to combat situations, having the man advantage really makes a huge difference. As such, I can understand when one gets upset over losing one such encounter, though I don't have any respect for those who stoop low enough to throw around slurs and the like. But it got even better once we both returned from the Ferry of the Damned.
They think we're hackers.
They must be
Bro,
Xbox
you think we're
players.
hackers?
Xbox.
Alright.
Off.
Easy. Okay, so they're around here somewhere. Oh, nope, never mind, they just left.
I think I turned this Xbox off.
Cliff, I think you actually turned this Xbox off.
Now, I'm not gonna pretend to understand the machinations of Xbox pirates, and while it was funny to claim to be the reason they disappeared, considering the sole losers they were, chances are they just headed off pouting. It has been a long day of sinking sloops, something that can get rather boring and monotonous for sure, meaning that when we found another galleon, we were more than ready to hustle. The only problem was that they didn't seem to want to fight back. We spent a not insignificant amount of time chasing after them before deciding that it just wasn't worth our time. But I mean, we're not against the idea of negotiating. Well, the alliance only works in our favor if you actually have stuff, so, you know.
True. Any alliances in chat?
Nice commentary, Brandon. True.
True, though.
True.
We eventually gave in and accepted the alliance offer when we saw that there was another ship we could attack instead. Sometimes it's just not worth running after a crew that has no intention to fight. I know common sense would dictate that pirates are more likely to run when they actually have cargo on board, but more often than not, it's just them being cowards, loot or not. Following that exchange, we had a couple more sloop encounters in which one of them decided to scuttle the moment I set foot on their ship, because that's what most people do. And because we were tired of bullying sloops, we offered the other one to stay afloat in exchange for their cannonballs. An offer they ended up declining. Really, the main attraction to us was still the galleon that we allianced with. Needless to say that we expected them to disband their alliance before selling their loot, meaning that we decided to spare them a little visit.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, how are you?
You guys doing?
What are you guys up to?
I brought you a storage crate.
Obviously, we were fully intending to take all of their resources with the storage crate we brought on board, while also taking a bit of a sneak peek at the voyage that we're currently on. They must have been in a state of shock, considering that none of them said anything at all. And as much as I was digging the fact that they were sailing in matching outfits, when they began raising the anchor without further explanation, we had to consider that an act of defiance. We took our storage crate to all of their resource barrels to empty every single one of them, and whenever they returned from the Ferry of the Damned, we sent them right back there. Truthfully, we were not expecting a lot of pushback in the first place, considering that they first decided to run away and then attempted to get us off their trail by offering an alliance. I keep saying that we're sailing on the Sea of Thieves and not the Sea of Friends. You're just better off assuming that everybody you meet is going to try and take your stuff. I mean, it's right in the name. Once we were done emptying their resource barrels as well as taking their chests, we repaired their ship to make sure they can complete their voyage, with me leaving them with a parting gift. One that just so happened to ignite a keg they hid in the crow's nest. So as you can see from today's tale, Reaper emissaries aren't all about indiscriminate sinking of ships. We specifically target other Reaper emissaries to make sure we don't have to share any of the loot with those who are likely to engage in the same activity as us. We are also more than willing to negotiate with those who, well, are capable and willing to engage in negotiation with us. We don't necessarily benefit from sinking every single ship on site, and if we can get a good social interaction out of somebody, we're often willing to let them go. Also, if they start making racist jokes, you can be certain that we're going to sink them. Heck, we're not even giving them a chance to grab a mermaid, because as much as we might come off as rude douchebags, there are certain things even we don't tolerate. Now, this was a very, very long day on the seas for us, and I've only shown you like, what, half the encounters we ended up having? So it might surprise you to find out that we didn't actually make all that much money. You'd think that sinking upwards of 15 ships would net us a massive payout, considering that we don't sink everyone indiscriminately, and definitely try to allow them to fill up on loot. But that is just how the cookie crumbles. Being a Reaper is not always the most profitable thing to do if you are truly living by the mantra of taking things away from others. But at the end of the day, it is more fun to take 100,000 gold worth of loot from others than getting 300,000 gold by putting myself to sleep. And that concludes today's chapter in the life of a Reaper emissary. There's a brig that's sailing down and we gotta kill that brig, but we'll come back to you with a business opportunity. We just gotta make sure these other guys screw off.
Thank you.
Reaper emissaries are inherently and characteristically evil. All they do is sail around and sink every ship in sight for their own profit because they can't be bothered to actually face the likes of Flameheart themselves. Or at least so their reputation goes. Of course, I'm not gonna sit here pretending that people who choose to sail under the PvP emissary don't religiously engage in PvP, with the obvious and detrimental exception of the runner's bones. But I do feel like we have a bit of a PR problem at our hands here. I know this is gonna be hard to believe to some of you guys, but not every crew of Reaper emissaries is made of toxic pirates. However, I know that my word alone isn't good enough. As much as I tried to give you guys some insight into the average day of a Reaper emissary during our last tale, I know that some of you still aren't convinced. So for today's voyage, me and my crew decided to sail under the Reapers once again, except with one big difference. We are not going to attack any other ship unless provoked. If somebody just wants to sail right past us and be on their merry way, then so be it. But that does create a few problems for us. If the PvP emissary does not engage in PvP, then how do they make money? I mean, it's not like we can just roll up to some random ship and convince them to give us all their stuff without even the slightest hint of threatening intent. Or can we? Well, there's only one way to find out, so put on your best smile and practice your negotiation skills because today's challenge is not gonna be easy. Welcome to the Sea of Tales. Now, for all of you who have watched the previous videos, you already know about our starting routine of loading up the ship and assigning roles to everybody. For this voyage, considering we're sailing on a brigantine, I'd finally be granted the pleasure of not only manning the cannons, but also boarding other ships if necessary. But of course, I didn't forget the goal we set out to achieve. When we spotted a lonely sloop on an island, just like the last time we were in that situation, we wouldn't simply shoot on sight. As a matter of fact, we decided to go the extra mile. We found out that our sloop fella was currently on a voyage, and to make sure he doesn't sink, we scooped out the water that began gathering in the ship thanks to the rain. Now obviously, there was a reason we stopped by. As much as we weren't intending to sink him, we definitely wanted some of his cannonballs. Brandon already told him about how this is going down, but just to make sure he knows we don't mean any harm to him, I insisted to double check. We're not sinking you, I just wanted some cannonballs.
Okay.
Tell him it's a life tax.
Have a nice day! Believe it or not, that concluded our first encounter of the day. Little did we know at that point that this particular pirate will play an important role in a couple hours from now, but for the time being, we waved goodbye and decided to go and find some treasure. Now here's the boring part about that voyage. Since we still wanted to get our emissary flag to rank 5, we didn't have a choice but to actually engage in PvE. And since we have never actually completed the Ashen Winds event, besides robbing other pirates of the final blow, we decided to give that ordeal a shot. But I assume that all of you either know what that long and drawn out encounter looks like, or that you don't care to see it. There are definitely better and faster ways of gathering treasure, meaning I doubt I'll find myself doing Ashen Winds again, at least voluntarily. But it did get our emissary flag to rank 4, and by the time we were done with that whole ordeal, we spotted our slooping friend being attacked by a skelly ship. Now, ignoring the fact that we were being chased by the supersized version of that vessel, we decided to stick to our guns and rush over to his rescue. Despite the fact that we spent the majority of our time on the seas combating other living pirates, we had enough skelly encounters under our belt to know that we could take on both of these without breaking a sweat. Frankly speaking, it actually made it a bit more exciting, because with only 3 crew members we had to manage our resources a bit more tightly than on a galleon, and doubling the amount of opposing vessels would definitely test our skills under pressure, something that you will find out at a later time I am notoriously bad at. Of course, we didn't want to worry our new friend, so we made sure he knew that everything was going according to plan.
Don't worry about us. Everything under control.
Everything under control.
Needless to say that we came out victorious in this battle, with our biggest concern being the scooping of valuable loot before it sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Here is something you should know if you ever want to set sail as a Reaper emissary. The most monetarily valuable piece of loot you can acquire are other emissary flags. I'm fairly certain that nothing beats the payout you receive when selling a rank 5 emissary flag while flying a rank 5 flag yourself. So when we realized that our slooping friend was still at the island that we just wrecked the skelly ships at, we began concocting a plan. We had acquired a number of items that could be considered valuable to a gold holder emissary, which incidentally was the flag that our friend decided to raise. He had already proven to be very cooperative, so what if we simply handed him our loot to get his rank up to then sink his ship for the then leveled flag? Of course we couldn't do that under the current set of rules that we decided to abide by, so how do we convince a random stranger to agree to such a random idea? Well, I suppose the only way to find out is by engaging in negotiation. Man, I really hope nobody shows up out of nowhere to attack us while we do that. Trying to sell an idea like that to somebody whom you're not even sure if they speak the same language as you was bound to be a challenge. I highlighted on the last episode that you're better off assuming that everybody you meet is out to take your stuff, because in an environment labeled the Sea of Thieves, that is simply the best bet you can make. Well, I was fully prepared to bust out my best sales pitch to make sure that our friend here dances along to the tunes that we came up with. We had no choice but to wait for him because just like on our last visit, he was out on the island to complete his voyage. Patience is definitely something you should have in spades when setting sail anyway, so we didn't mind waiting for his return, but unfortunately, a more pressing issue had arisen.
Another emissary behind us. Brig.
That was about as inconvenient of a timing as we could imagine. If these guys begin firing cannon shots, then our gold-hoarding buddy might assume it was us trying to sink his ship. But if they were determined to engage in combat, that offered the opportunity for us to fight back. Being in a stationary position was not exactly ideal, but we had to make sure that we can protect not only our own ship, but also the gold hoarder sloop. Thankfully, the owner of which returned before we decided to give chase, meaning we had a chance to explain what was going on. Yeah, there's a brig that's sailing down and we gotta kill that brig, but we'll come back to you with a business opportunity. We just gotta make sure these other guys screw off.
Thank you.
Luckily, that brigantine attacking us ended up working in our favor. We established ourselves as the good guys while also being able to finally engage in combat with another crew, something we were definitely itching to do during this voyage. And I have to say that this definitely ranks more on the weird spectrum of naval battles that I was a part of. Naturally, exchanging cannon shots isn't anything to write home about, and I'm happy to announce that our captain's naval maneuvers have improved ever so slightly from his usual just chase them down LOL approach. And as much as we were a wee bit rusty when it came to our PvP skills from this session alone, we still successfully sunk their ship in no time at all. Just that the weird part about this was that at some point they stopped trying to save their vessel in favor of trying to escape on a rowboat. Mind you, they didn't have any kind of loot on it, so that begs the question of why? Anyway, that wasn't a problem that an Eye of Reach could not take care of, and without even getting close to their escape pod, we had successfully massacred each and every one of them. But just when we thought that we could finally make our plan become reality...
Our guy's sailing away.
Let's just chase him. I'm using a sloop or a brig.
He's level 3 now. 4-4.
For every step we take forward, we are thrown 2 steps back. We had successfully protected our gold hoarder friend from the onslaught of what we can only assume were merchants in disguise. The only problem now was that we had to chase him down. That's where our now level 5 emissary flag was coming in very handy, because we could accurately track his location and follow him all the way to Snake Island. I was getting a little nervous at that point, not because I had reason to assume that he would decline our offer, but because I wasn't sure if we had enough loot on board to get him all the way to rank 5. Either way, there was only one way to find out, and that was by finally engaging in negotiation. We need your flag so we can level up our emissary standing, or not emissary, but our reputation level, which means we have to sink you, and we don't want to sink you, but first we want to give you the max level. So we have a bunch of stuff you can put on your ship that's going to increase your level to 5, then we're gonna sink you, then you will meet us at Reaper's hideout, we will make an alliance, and we will sell everything, and then you get like 50% of all the stuff we found on the boat, which is quite a bunch of stuff.
So where should we meet?
I suppose this was an offer he couldn't turn down. I'm not sure if he was under the impression that we would do to him what we did to that brigantine, or if he just figured that it was a very monetarily viable decision, or if he's just as crazy as us and simply did it for content's sake. Either way, we had a deal, and as such, the loading of goods onto his vessel began. With all that commotion taking place, the second member of his crew finally woke up just in time to reap the rewards of his captain's sheer luck. Of course, we could have told them to simply scuttle their ship, but we figured that sinking them via means of a cannon barrage was a bit more of an honorable death to a noble vessel. What we didn't consider was the fact that we had to pick all the items we gave them back out of the water, which was annoying. But hey, I'm willing to go the distance to make this meme happen, even if it means that the brigantine we sunk had every opportunity in the world to catch us off guard again. Except they were better at hitting islands with their ship than they were at hitting us with their guns. Knowing that the sailing skills were subpar at best and not wanting to leave our friends waiting for too long, we decided to just sail away, since it's not like they'd have anything we could steal off of them anyway. And that's it. We waited at Reaper's hideout and, just like we promised, formed an alliance with them so they can get a cut off of our PvE acquired loot. So how do you feel about that one, YouTube comment section? We went an entire session without attacking anyone that didn't attack us first, and even went the extra mile to protect somebody before engaging in a mutually beneficial transaction. Our 2 friends over here will get their share of 200,000 gold pieces for doing nothing more than allowing us to sink them. Which begs the question, what is the most altruistic thing you have done in Sea of Thieves? What about we share some stories in the comment section below? If there's one thing that Among Us has taught the world in 2020, it's the fact that deception is a skill that, much like any other, has to be trained. And the same applies to Sea of Thieves as well. Styling on skeleton AI is only fun for so long before you begin craving the thrill of social interaction, and of course you could always just go around and sink every ship in sight, but where's the fun in that? Don't be mistaken, deception should be a skill of every pirate on the sea. Not only does it allow you to read your opposition's intent and thus make more informed decisions in and out of combat, but minimizing risk for maximum profit is something that actual pirates engaged in all the time. So after I spent my morning stalking a Reaper brigantine that decided to raise the Alliance alpha flag, you know I couldn't resist. Of course I joined the Alliance to give them a false sense of security and let them complete the Ashen Winds event for me while waiting for my second in command to wake up. Today's story is one of deception, revenge, and a whole lot of tenacity. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself another chapter of the Sea of Tales. I know I usually begin these episodes at an outpost, but sometimes the will of Davy Jones can be fairly unpredictable. I wasn't really intending to go on a voyage that day, but when I spotted said Reaper Emissary clearing Ashen Winds, I felt inclined to keep my eyes peeled. And since there's more to this tale than just being deceptive, starting it off with a combat encounter seems fitting for the pace we're about to take.
Alright, I'm about to board them, Cliff. You ready?
Coming in hot.
On the ladder. They're on the harpoons right now.
Sinking ships bigger than your own more than anything else is a team effort. Neither Birdie nor I can call ourselves seasoned pirates, so making sure that I can cover his boarding attempt with a barrage of cannonballs would definitely be necessary. Unfortunately, Birdie found himself sliced into pieces by a storm of blades. However, he did manage to drop their anchor before they dropped him into the Ferry of the Damned. And that is all the time I needed to roll up, take out both of their masts, and even give them a couple holes to boot. I won't lie if I said that I expected to face a crew of competent pirates considering the Alliance plus Reaper combo that they were sailing under, meaning that it would take them quite some time to repair the damage I did to them while I continued to lay into their ship from a safe distance. Birdie had finally returned, and this time he would enjoy my unimpeded support. Rather than just busting more holes into their vessel, setting them on fire as well as shaking them about would do well in covering Birdie's boarding attempt while they panic. The man disadvantage didn't really bother us at all as Birdie and I were operating under perfect unison into the night. Big-balling them?
Oh, you jigballed me.
Oh! Listen.
That's okay. That works. Just go ahead and keep doing that. Because they can't repair the ship, so go ahead.
Okay, maybe I overstated the perfect unison thing, but hey, at least we learned that cursed cannonballs also affect your own crewmates if they are currently on the opposing vessel. I'm sure nobody has figured that one out yet. The hilarious thing about this encounter was the fact that they went through the effort of clearing the Ashen Winds event just to be met with a rank 4 emissary flag, while all we did was sink them in the span of a few minutes to get the same rank. And on top of that, there was a skeleton captain on the island that we could just yeet into Narnia in order to get that elusive rank 5. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we forgot about something. Did you lower our Alliance flag? Oh. Wow, okay. Honestly, that whole thing felt like a job well done. This time it wasn't us bullying sloops on a galleon, it was us fighting a brigantine on a sloop. It would have obviously been much more difficult if these guys expected us to fight them, with the whole thing breaking out on the open sea. But hey, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Using deception as a tool in your arsenal to make up for a disadvantage, or even to create an advantage for yourself, is something you should consider. We could now reap the rewards of all the work that these guys put into getting all these items for the fastest, albeit not biggest profit we ever had the pleasure of cashing in. But one thing we didn't expect from a crew of pirates that sail with an Alliance alpha flag was for them to try and get revenge, though I have to say, I welcome their tenacity. The other... Oh, there's a ship behind us?
Oh, brigantine, they're coming back for revenge, Cliff!
That's what we love to see. That initial fight was almost too easy, to the point where we had gotten complacent, but thankfully they returned with a fury in their hearts that couldn't be quenched by simple negotiation. Our first engagement already taught us that they only had one confident shot on their crew, which was the fella they sent to take us out. And with that kind of aggression on display, we knew that they would give us a run for our money. Or their money, I suppose. This was unlike their previous showing. We were the ones caught with our pants down this time, meaning I needed some time to breathe in order to come up with a countermeasure. On top of that, we had already dropped off a significant amount of items before they attacked, meaning that these guys could just roll up and sell them instead. But Birdie was bringing up a good point.
Yes, I don't care if it gets sold, we need to kill these guys. It's not about the loot, Cliff, it's about killing them.
Honestly, I had to agree with him. Sure, at the end of the day we go on voyages to make money, but some things are more important than coins, and one such thing is the matter of principle. Just like I predicted, this battle was much more annoying on the open seas, where the waves are making it more difficult for me to land my shots while Birdie was on their ship. But despite popular belief, we're not actually stupid. Both of us have been well aware of the fact fact that this was a war of attrition. Considering the fact that these guys are fighting on a fresh vessel, we knew that they were bound to run out of resources eventually. Draining their wood supply via cannon shots was one thing, but we also wanted to drain their food supply with a steady cascade of damage, for which the venom ball was perfect. But at some point, we had to split our attention. I fired myself onto Reaper's hideout to sell the items that we had to abandon, and interestingly enough, despite the fact that we made no effort to hide our intention, none of them even attempted to stop me. I got to peacefully sell every single item while Birdie was circling the island, with them somehow being incapable of catching up due to their inferior sailing skills. Though that piece would be broken when a megalodon appeared.
Wait, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way, no way. Is that a shrouded? I'm not even kidding.
We all know the tale of the legendary shrouded ghost, a megalodon so elusive that some question its very existence. For Birdie to suggest that he encountered one such fabled creature, I had to see it for myself. Once I found a mermaid to send me back to our ship, I immediately jumped into the water to make sure that what Birdie found was actually the shrouded ghost. That looks like Shadow Maw to me.
I don't think so.
He's right in front of me, I'm shooting him. As it turns out, Birdie really needs to fix his glasses, or what he calls a gaming laptop, because what he thought was Shrouded Ghost was actually Shadow Maw. The only reason we decided to take this fight so far into the open sea was because we wanted to make sure that the Megalodon does not disappear on us. But when we found out that it wasn't the one that Birdie claimed it was, I decided that I had enough of that chase and anchor turned us back to Reaper's hideout. Say what you will about anchor turning as a strategy, but the enemy ship zipped past us in the flash and it actually took them quite a significant amount of time to catch up to us again. Time that we could use to continue sailing around Reaper's hideout while selling our loot one by one. When most of the loot was already sold, I began questioning how long it would take that brigantine crew to realize that the reason we circled the hideout was to sell their stuff. But my smug commentary would eventually be my downfall when I was caught off guard by the one person on their crew that actually knew how to land a shot. When I returned from the ferry of the damned, I found Birdie getting attacked by a single boarder, and weapon jamming aside, I started to get really fed up with this encounter. We have been playing very conservatively up until this point because we couldn't afford to play into their man advantage. But when most of the loot was already sold, there was no reason for caution. Birdie just barely failed in his boarding attempt, with the opposing crew catching the anchor before it fully dropped. But since we never sent more than one boarder at a time, that gave them a false sense of security, allowing me to get on their ship and raise havoc. One dead. They caught anchor again.
Kill him, kill him, kill him. Did they get the anchor down? Did you get the anchor down?
I think they caught it.
I'm merming back to our ship then.
3 dead. With their entire crew on the ferry of the damned and their anchor finally touching the bottom of the ocean, we were in a prime position to end this fight once and for all. We were right in our assumption that they were running out of resources to continue this battle, though thankfully they still had some firebombs that allowed me to make this a little more threatening for them. Birdie sailed by to bust some more holes into their ship, and it didn't take long for the first crew member to return from the ferry and rush past the flames to execute bloody revenge. A masterful sidestep allowed him to escape my blunderbuss, and before I knew it, I had no choice but to retreat into the water. But this was my domain. Considering that this was not the guy that was carrying 2 guns on him, it was safe to assume that he would be one of the 2 crew members that only ever used their swords, meaning that in a situation like that, my eye of reach would prevail. This was the final nail in the coffin for them. Birdie and I had taken control of their vessel, which was littered with holes while burning to a crisp. And as soon as their deck was covered in water, we would merm back and sell the last few items we still had. Actually, we were having so much fun with these guys that we decided to stick around for a little while to see if they wanted to tango once more, but unfortunately, losing twice was twice too often for them. What started as a simple act of deception turned into a revenge plot with one of the better PvP encounters we had in a long time. Honestly, nothing but respect for these guys for giving us a good fight. And that concludes our story for today. If you like what you've seen, then do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out, consider subscribing if you want to see more, and definitely hit that bell icon to not miss out on my next upload. I hope you guys have a day filled with riches on the sea, and until next time, peace. There aren't many things that can freak me out when sailing on the Sea of Thieves, but the one thing that is definitely going to get the job done is this. No, you don't understand. It's not like I have anything against the sloop in particular, but it does invoke some rather traumatic experiences inside me. Because you see, as a solo pirate, the sloop is really your only good choice of vessel. And there are few things as terrifying to me as being alone on the sea. Things that I would usually consider a minor inconvenience under normal circumstances can mean certain doom when you're all on your own. I mean, when was the last time my crew and I were struggling to deal with a megalodon or a skelly crew. But being hit by a cursed cannonball while your ship already resembles Swiss cheese more than a boat ranks an 8 out of 10 when it comes to stress levels. Or imagine losing a 1v1 to a boarder. You're already freaking out about your ship sinking while on the ferry of the damned, and now you also have to worry about somebody waiting to shoot you in the back as soon as you return to it. And although these are things I don't often worry about, when sailing on a brigantine or a galleon, you know that you have manpower to spare, and as such, I'm usually fairly relaxed, even while in combat. For all of these reasons, I don't usually make the decision to sail out all on my own. But the thing is, as the only European in my group, I have a tendency of getting up much earlier than my North American crewmates, and it just so happened that during one fateful morning, I found an active Fort of the Damned that I simply couldn't let slip. Of course, when I made that decision, I had no idea where this endeavor would take me. Sea of Thieves would be turning into a survival game for more than one reason, so I hope you guys are ready for the first solo adventure in my book of stories. Welcome to the Sea of Tales. Try as I might, I can convince myself that setting sail all on my own was a good idea. I know I shouldn't be relying on a lifeline as much as I am, but fact of the matter is that pirating is much more fun when you do it with a group of friends. But Lord knows that I wouldn't be alone for long, because there were a lot of vessels on the sea that I could already spot from the outpost, and I had to assume that all of them saw the giant skull in the sky as vividly as me. I sailed all throughout the day into the night, stuck between the judgmental glare of Flameheart and the anxiety-inducing idea of heisting FOTD all on my own. As much as I engage in the PvP side of things more than the PvE variety, I have defeated the Fort of the Damned a number of times myself, giving me a good idea for how long it should take them to do so. The only problem is that, for some reason, it takes your average pirate much longer to complete these events than they realistically should. As such, I found myself sailing for a very long time before finally seeing the skull disappear, indicating that, at long last, they will be done. As I closed the distance and approached the island, I decided to climb onto my crow's nest to see what I would have to handle, and piercing the thick mist of the ford, I could spot a lonely brigantine. Again, under normal circumstances, this isn't something I would worry about. Having the surprise factor on your side can allow you to easily win unfavorable encounters, such as boarding the ship of a 3-man crew all on your own. But the closer I got, the more my heart began to race. I couldn't help but feel like I had only one shot at this. There was no way I could assume that they didn't see me roll up at some point, meaning that if I end up eliminated, chances are they would sink my ship in no time at all. It all began as soon as I set foot on the island. I found their ship anchored and currently in the process of harpooning the loot they just acquired, meaning a frontal assault was out of question. I jumped into the water to try a sneaking approach, and from that moment on, my anxiety began to rise. I swam around to the other side of their ship in case the guy did see or hear me jump into the water, and as it turned out, there was a good reason to worry. The moment I grabbed onto the ladder, I was met with the business end of a flintlock. Except... this is the sound of an empty barrel. I tried to seize the opportunity and get on their ship, but immediately found myself shot by an eye of reach before whiffing my blundy shot. I was officially in panic mode. I wanted to set their ship on fire to create some pressure, but at the same time, I heard another bullet whiz past my ear. Of course, I was low on health as well, but before I could even make a wrong decision, a bullet piercing my heart would end this encounter. Man, this was very unlike me. For somebody seeking the thrill of combat on a daily basis, this was definitely a pathetic display. I was fairly certain that all 3 of them would be on my ship waiting for me to return while burning it to a crisp. But as I returned to my vessel, there was nobody there. Could this actually turn out to work in my favor? If they didn't know that I came here with a ship, which works as a mobile respawn point, and instead assumed that I swam all the way from another island to tuck on them, then maybe they wouldn't expect me to attack them again immediately. My window of opportunity was narrow, meaning I had to hurry up, and rather than trying to sneak again, I would go in guns blazing. You can tell that I caught them by surprise this time, because them bringing a keg on board was the kind of mistake that I needed them to make. Sprinty John must have realized what kind of predicament he was in as he held the keg in his hands, but at last, it would be him who greeted the ferryman. My hands were shaking, not in anticipation of all the loot I was about to obtain, but in the fear of finding out how I could still screw this up after having gotten myself into a strong position. I had slain 2 of the 3 gold holders, with the 3rd one returning to resurrect his friends, and while I tried to stop him from doing so, he was a resilient fella that shrugged my blunderbuss off like I just tossed a banana at him. The mistake I made at this point was jumping into the water to try and confirm the kill. Obviously he had eyes on the ship, whereas I lost sight of him, and once again, for some reason, his blunderbuss just ended up being way more deadly slightly than mine. I told you I would find a way to screw this up. I met his friends on the ferry with the damned, and it didn't seem like they were particularly bothered by what I just did to them. After all, their most competent crewmate was still alive, and so far the man was 2 for 1 when it came to fighting me. You'd assume that at this point I would have calmed down a bit considering I successfully sunk their ship, but quite contrary to that, I was even more anxious. It was now obvious to them that my ship was nearby, and clearly they still left enough kegs at the fort to blow it to smithereens, which really begs the question of why I thought it was a good idea to bring my vessel around. If I recall correctly, I was worried about the loot sinking to the bottom of the ocean, but clearly I didn't put enough thought into the possibility of them having more kegs, one of which I saw Sprinty John bring onto the island, to which I answered by trying to snipe him with a blunderbuss.
Oh, what was I thinking?
John must have been a part-time magician because he somehow managed to escape my gaze. I mean, I legitimately had and still have no idea how he could just walk a keg past me without me seeing him at all. If by now you have not grasped onto the fact that I don't make the best decisions under pressure, then the following move is most assuredly going to convince you. As much as I should have connected the dots and assumed he'd bring the keg to my ship, which made his destination and my target more than obvious, I decided to jump into the water to, well, save the Athena chest. Listen guys, I have more cash than I know what to do with, which really is a testament to the fact that there isn't a lot of cool stuff I find worth buying more than a statement about my general wealth. It would take way too long to sell all of that loot on my own anyway, so just grabbing the one item I really cared about doesn't seem like that bad of an idea. But it would have been handy to still have my ship to transport it to the nearest outpost, which by then John had already blown to pieces. At that point I was committed to that chest of legends. The only way to still come out victorious was by swimming it all the way to another island, grab a new ship, and pick it up before that brigantine realized what happened. But if you think that the hardest part is already over, then, well, you're in for a surprise. For any of you who try to swim long distances on the Sea of Thieves, you'll know about the inherent dangers that await you in the waters. I obviously did not plan for things to end up like this, so to say that I was ill-prepared for such a challenge would be an understatement. With a limited amount of bullets, a limited amount of food, and a limited amount of sanity left at my disposal, I had to find a way to make it to the next island before ending up in a shark's belly. The problem was that I didn't know that there was another ship already anchored at said island. I mean, honestly, what better option did I have? I didn't have the means to turn around and take the chest someplace else, which means that enemy sloop or not, Kirk's Hollow would be my destination. I left the Athena chest in the bush before scouting the island and honestly found it hard to believe just how unlucky I could be. I mean, sure, you can make the argument that losing to John was purely my own fault, but come on, this was the first time that I tried to heist the Fort of the Damned all on my own. I was nervous. Either way, I found a keg with these guys' names on it, and really, the goal wasn't even necessarily to kill them, but if I can sink their ship, they'd feel inclined to mermaid away to get a new one, and that would give me the time I needed to bring my own ship back for the Athena. At the same time, I was worried that if they blew me up with it before I could get to their ship, they'd have all the time in the world to accidentally stumble upon what I tried to hide. I had decided that staying alive was more important than force sending it down mid, and as such, the survival game portion of our story began. I was off to a great start, being able to replenish my food supply using some fruit I found in a barrel. The next issue I had to tackle was ammunition. I wouldn't be able to take these guys on with only a couple bullets in my pocket. Unfortunately for me, the ammo box was being protected by a snake, and considering the fact that I didn't have a sword on me, I couldn't help but make some noise when killing it. As much as that gave away my position, at last I'd have some ammo to actually fight. And fight I did, but not the opposing crew. In what ended up being the worst timing ever, a bunch of skeletons showed up to make this even more difficult for me. Now I don't know if these guys on the sloop were the smartest or the luckiest pirates on the sea, but they had anchored their vessel in a position that actually put them out of range of the stationary cannon. Well, there goes my advantage. And before I knew it, one of the two guys had already made it all the way to the peak, putting me in quite a difficult situation. Even if I shoot him on sight, there's no telling where his friend is or how competent he is. Really, the best option for me would be to try and talk this out. And in an odd twist of fate, the skeletons actually end up working in my favor. It allowed me to establish myself as a good guy, and I found out that these guys just wanted to mind their own business while on a voyage. I decided to spare the second one a visit as well, assuming he would still be on the ship, and unsurprisingly, he tried to fend me off like I was a real boarder. But I had a short conversation with them as well, and I gotta say, both of them seemed like really chill dudes. Of course, I didn't tell them anything about the hidden chest I left behind, and instead swam out with the nearest mermaid to try and come back before they stumbled upon it. The map that they showed me didn't have any treasure hidden anywhere near my chest of legends, which was good to know, but that does mean that there's no way they could find it. And as I made my way back to Crook's Hollow, at last somebody woke up. Birdie had awoken just in time to ensure that I could stop shaking in my boots. Even just one additional crewmate on board would help me regain my confidence and hopefully start making better decisions. We arrived back at Crook's Hollow with no sign of that other sloop, which definitely gave me reason to worry. But thankfully, the Chest of Legends was exactly where I left it, allowing me to let out a sigh of relief. This was the one item that I went through all of this effort for, from fighting that other crew, losing my ship, fending off sharks, and trying to survive on an island. Everything led up to this very moment. I actually spotted that brigantine of gold hoarders on our way to the next outpost, but not only was there no way for them to know that we had their Athena chest, they also wouldn't be able to stop us from selling it. And that is all she wrote. Birdie woke up just to get some free Athena reputation, and as for me, my greatest solo adventure finally came to an end. Every pirate on the sea, whether old or young, rich or broke, whether merchant or reaper, all of us are working towards a single goal. Pirate legend. Heck, you don't even have to know that you're doing it in order to do it. Your time on the sea is inevitably going to build your legacy and get you closer and closer to that coveted spot in Athena's fortune. So needless to say that my crew and I were pretty excited about all of our efforts finally culminating in the ascension to legendhood. After 3 months of voyages, sinking ships, and amassing reputation, we were finally at the end of our journey, or at least that particular chapter of our journey, and we wanted to make it a day to remember. A 6-hour session filled with naval combat, the heisting of the Fort of the Damned, as well as many shenanigans in between would make for a worthy voyage to cement our legacy. So ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your bananas and get ready for a special episode of the Sea of Tales. The beginning of our journey would start with us showing a lot more restraint than we were used to, flying under the flag of the Reapers. Sinking other ships is the name of the game, but because it was still early in the day, we figured it made sense to give them time to collect some loot for us to eventually steal. I still had a few chunks of reputation to make up until I could finally become a legend, and as such, stealing as many riches as possible was more important than the satisfaction of a quick sink. Granted, there was one Reaper galleon that decided to initiate combat when we had no intention of fighting them. Not retaliating would be a sign of weakness, and as such, we swiftly made their possessions part of our collection. We thought that would be a done deal, but as we were sailing around, we found that same crew stalking us from afar. Last time they had to jump on us and still lost the fight, so it's not like we were particularly worried about it, but we also weren't big fans of them sticking so close to us the whole time. In true Reaper fashion, we decided to take matters into our own hands to try and begin establishing our dominance, but as it turned out, these guys weren't gonna go down without a fight again. On our ship, on our ship! I caught anchor, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him!
Oh, he got me.
Idea.
He got me.
Remember what I said about the
I'm dead, I'm dead. Yeah, we had definitely gotten a bit full of ourselves with our attempted ramming play. A smart crew would have taken their opposition seriously, and well, we were paying the price for not having done that. I returned from the ferry of the Damned just to be dropped into a sea of flames. Brandon and Alex were holding their own while Birdie and I were gone, but now we had to try and turn the tables lest our ship was going to be burned to an absolute crisp. I decided to return the favor and set them ablaze as well, which was definitely more satisfying than it was useful. But when our opponents continuously succeeded in slicing up my boarding crew while relentlessly boarding us, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I'm jumping. He's dead. I'm going on the ship. If you guys got repairs, we shouldn't have holes.
Killed a couple of them that are on there. There should be 2 that just spawned in.
Man, if only we had a K.
Do they have holes?
Yeah, no, they don't, but we're gonna take their stuff anyway.
Shark in the water, careful.
Too close that we have to raise anchor.
One dead.
Far enough away.
Here's store trade on board, Cliff. Store trade on board.
Don't waste chains, the anchor. Respawn, respawn.
Right. Looks like all the fire is out.
Dead.
Nice.
They got lowers.
I had to jump off, Cliff. I was too
It's
long.
fine, I'm fine.
I like how they can just one-shot blinding me, but I can't.
He's down below.
He's in the
Yeah,
water.
someone's tucking on our ship, Cliff. I saw him go below.
Okay, I got one. He jumped into the water off our ship. 2 respawn, double respawn.
Alright, coming.
Top deck, top deck.
Actually, I need to get food from us real
Killed
quick.
one.
Thank you. I'm 1 HP. What's up?
Hey, bail water, bail water. I need to get their cannonballs.
I need food, I need food. Behind you, behind you, behind you!
I'm trying to raise our anchor right now if you guys can keep it busy over there. One just jumped off. One's on the ship.
I'm coming.
I need food. Is the guy on the ship dead?
Yes.
I have
No, that's behind you!
Oh, there must have been a second then.
That hurt a lot.
Is he dead?
No, one below.
Alright. We can sink him now. I'm gonna die to this guy, but we can sink him.
No bet birds up here.
Well, you can say that, but we can't.
I took all their cannonballs.
They're done. There's another
Down.
the Reapers.
Oh, yep, they're sunk. Okay.
They are sunk.
I
Yep,
got a
they're
little toxic with them, don't worry about it. Well, nobody can say that we didn't give him a chance. Absolutely feeding our brains out to start off this encounter was head start enough, but at the end, we came out victorious. At that point, we were entirely certain that they would not come back to stalk us again, except... There's a captain
And
on
another
the
flag.
island. I'm gonna go kill him real quick. A what?
That might be what we need to do.
I'd want... There's another guy, I killed one, there's one more. Yeah, these wouldn't be Reapers if they didn't decide to fight to the bitter end. They definitely managed to catch me with my pants down, but eventually, even the stragglers would find their way to the Ferry of the Damned. With that encounter behind us, we figured enough time had passed for us to start messing with some other crews, but as fate would have it, the seas decided to bless us with an active Fort of the Damned. When it comes to the tales we share at the tavern, we always talk about the glorious acts of piracy that lead to grand riches, but none of us really want to talk about what it took to get there. Heisting the Fort of the Damned sounds really neat on paper until you realize that it requires a whole lot of patience. The crew that was trying to clear the fort was either not very competent, or they were scared of all the ships currently circling that position because they were taking forever. Granted, not all these ships were manned by living pirates. A myriad of skeleton ships was taking away their attention. We made it our job to take them out so that these guys could focus on clearing out the fort. It is a bit ironic that we were engaging in PvE activities just so we can eventually end up doing PvP. No doubt we could have cleared that fort in half the time ourselves, but where's the fun in that? The real fun began when Birdie decided to swim over there to try and tuck on them, and well, he did find a good hiding spot, just that it ended up looking a bit suspicious on our end.
Are you moving, Birdie?
No. It's probably just
Are
the
you
ship
seeing that
rocking in the ocean.
It's like rapid. Very
Yeah, now
rapid
you're
rocking.
Like 40 feet in the air. Are you tucking on the fort? Because that's how high your name is.
Are you like tucking in the
Wait.
sky right now? What has
Wait.
happened? Clearly, Alex and I were suffering from a mass hallucination I have since dubbed PvE-ritis caused by an overexposure of PvE activities while awaiting the satisfaction of actual combat. But our chance would come, and when the giant skull in the sky finally disappeared, we knew it was go time. Our crew hurried on up to make sure we could reap the rewards of our patience. The most frustrating thing now would be if another crew got ahead of us.
They fired a border.
Border. He missed.
Border missed. Border missed. I'm gonna go around the island here.
I'm watching right.
Remember,
Ladder.
you gotta fire these cannonballs really high. Good low hit.
Yeah, he missed.
I think I got their mass. All
Yeah,
mass
yeah,
down.
Boarding.
Not
You
gonna be
you
alive.
guys can, I mean, they're gonna sink. They're like mid-deck. Their mid-deck is almost full. They're gonna sink.
They're done. They're done.
Nice one.
Easy Fort of the Damned heist.
Any back spawns?
Let's go take everything from the fort before they
I don't see any,
come
but I'm
back.
going to the fort. I think they tucked the loot in the fort.
They couldn't even tuck that fast, to be honest.
You don't know they're tucking.
No, oh, Athena! Come on, get down here! Okay, to be fair, there was barely even a fight. We've come a long way from sinking our own ship to heist the FOTD to now getting our hands on these treasures without boasting a single bit of damage to our ship. These guys must have immediately spotted us coming at them the moment they were finished. I made an attempt to run with the Athena chest, but well, we were just one step ahead of them. Their Athena chest as well as the riches in the fort were ours, and after all that time spent waiting, you best believe that filling our pockets was ever the more satisfying. We had defeated every single emissary on the seas, culminating with an, albeit a bit anticlimactic, FOTD heist, but just when we celebrated our win, got there. I was
I
supposed to
was
hand you
trying.
this up.
I didn't think that would get you. Are you kidding
Oh
me?
no!
No, the loot's not gonna despawn. The loot's not gonna despawn. Don't
Yeah, and
worry.
I've already got all the loot that's out of the water.
Well, getting merged onto a different ocean does not always have to be a bad thing, but it did come with the side effect of having absolutely busted our harpoon. We had to bring the last few items back on our ship by hand and agreed that rather than going for the sell, we'd be stacking the loot up higher or go down together with it. No doubt that the things we stole up until that point would have been more than enough to get me the last bit of reputation I needed to become a pirate legend, but there was one more thing we had to do before I would be satisfied. There was one final emissary ship on the sea, an opposing Reaper brigantine that I wanted to see at the bottom of the ocean before ascending to legendhood. Oh yeah, remember how we had celebrated our easy win? Yeah, these guys were a lot more competent than any other crew we had fought that day. They made use of the ship's far superior speed and maneuverability, they landed the chain shots, and altogether they were supremely obnoxious as a result. Sometimes I wonder if that is how other crews feel when they have to fight us, but tenacity is the hallmark of a Reaper emissary, and as such we had no intention of tucking tail. But that aforementioned lack of maneuverability sides of our galleon was becoming a huge detriment. Every time we succeeded in getting some good shots in, these guys were immediately repairing the most vital components to make sure we can't reel them in. Our boarders were having a hard time even getting on the ship, let alone dropping their anchor before getting sliced to bits. We kept this game of cat and mouse all the way throughout the night until our enemies finally made a mistake and we could get some good shots in, though it was very apparent that we were as tired as we were impatient after having spent so much time on the seas already.
Merming.
Master down.
We have tons of curse balls.
Jump off, Birdie. Go, use your time.
Yeah, I got it. Did you hit me with that?
Yeah, you jumped in front of me.
How?
You literally jumped as I threw it.
Raise mid.
I know, I'm saying that's kind of impressive.
We're on fire.
They're getting away, Cliff. Damn it.
We're taking a water. I need some buckets. Buckets quick.
I have no
Ship's good.
range shots left.
Here they come. Here they come.
I'm gonna repair a mass. Go for a board question mark? No.
No.
Actually, no, never mind.
We're lighting them up though. We're hitting.
Yeah, we lost angle though.
A little higher. Higher. Oh, perfect. Nice. Alright, this is your chance. Right now.
Jumping. 39 right.
No, they turned away.
Take shots. Got broadside on.
Disastrous. Come on. How does that not hit?
What was that?
Helm ball.
Lower sails.
Border off to the right side. Somebody in the water. Right side.
Okay, I'm watching
Over that wave.
Watching right ladder. I see it.
He's dead. I was not dead. What?
Y'all should stop pulling dead when they're not dead.
How? I should have
Take the water.
He's trying to help you.
4 shots with an eye of reach. How?
Get ready
Okay,
for shots.
both
here.
of you are on fire and you're setting each other on fire.
I'm sitting on a cannon right now.
This encounter was exhausting not only our supplies, but also our energy. Half an hour into this exchange, all of us were longing for an end to the battle, and as you could see, we made every single mistake in the book. Mistakes that we could not get away with when fighting a competent crew on a brigantine. But it was apparent that both of our crews were at our limits. As the cannon fire died down and the boarding attempts became more numerous, we realized that a swift end must be put to this engagement before we absolutely lost our minds. And it seemed like our enemies shared that sentiment. Their sailing skills were nothing to sneeze at, but as this fight continued on, it was only natural for impatience to cause mistakes. And it was in this crucial juncture of this encounter that we had to change our strategy.
Alright, so every time we get any amount of astronomically close to them, they're gonna just turn away.
Can we somehow just like full speed into them and get the ramming play?
Somehow, yes, but it'd be pretty tricky.
I do the sails. Yeah, keep turning like this. It's perfect.
I think that's the only way Birdie and I get on.
Yep.
We're on an intercept course right now.
Straighten out. Straighten out.
Yep, we're gonna hit him.
To the right. Don't worry about the mast.
Wow, we just barely missed that.
Anchor's down.
One dead.
They are anchored. They have no holes. They have a hole.
They might. I don't think they're on the ship currently.
Check for borders. You got holes, Cliff. Check for borders.
Stay under.
There's nobody.
Alright.
We don't have holes either.
Load up their storage crates, Brandon. I'll cover you. Get cannonballs.
They are out completely.
Wow, okay,
Knew it.
Get wood. That guy's dead.
Done. Killed one.
Alright, they're sunk. Big cliff.
Hey.
Arm is still here, by the way.
Very nice. Love to see it.
That alone was worth it. The
Absolutely.
Reaper flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, to make a point, there's only one Reaper on the server, and that's us. 6 hours and hundreds upon hundreds of cannonballs later, we had finally done it. We decimated every single emissary on the seas, twice over if you want to be technical about it, and I finally felt satisfied. We had a big haul of loot to bring to Reaper's hideout, and I couldn't get that stupid grin off my face, knowing that this voyage is going to lead to my ascension to Pirate Legend. And the cherry on top was the fact that our broken harpoon had fixed itself after we finished our mission. We celebrated all the way to Reaper's hideout in anticipation of the profits we were going to rake in. And of course, that elusive rank 50 with the Reaper's bones that would finally grant me entry to Athena's fortune. Naturally, I was not gonna roll up to that coveted faction without bringing a gift. This chest of legends would mark the beginning as well as the end. The end of my journey, 3 months of rigorous training to live up to a legacy yet to be made. And the beginning of a new journey, that of many more riches and even more shenanigans. Starting with the very next voyage, I would finally take off my Reaper PJs and begin a new life among the legends on the Sea of Thieves. And if you enjoyed this chapter in my Book of Tales, then by all means do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more, and leave a comment down below detailing your most memorable experience on the seas. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.